Hey y'all, I was asked in a comment to make a video on my ACS1 settings, so I'm going to show you those now. Let's dive in. Alrighty, so there's some cleanish tone, quite a bit of noise on it, modulation and whatnot. So let me turn all that stuff off and let's dive deep into my ACS1 tone. So I'm in the middle position here on my telly. I have no overdrives on. I haven't tuned or anything like that. There's a little bit of noise, but it's all good. What else do you need to know? Oh, my tone knob is rolled all the way up. My volume knob is rolled all the way up. And my ACS1 is in stereo, as I'm sure you could tell during the demo, as are all my wet effects. But let's talk about making the ACS1 a good platform. By the way, I have no overdrives on. My compressor is on, so here's my compressor. I'll turn it off. So as you can tell, a little quieter and much less compressed. But here we go, into the ACS1. I'm gonna pull up my Walrus Audio IRs. All right, so pulling up the view here. Let me go to Walrus IO. Here are my IRs. So we've got I'm using slot A and slot B. I'm using the Prosonic I'm using the TF, that's tone factor, Prosonic 2x10 GV with the 545 in third position, which I believe is the darkest position, but enhanced. That means it's top end boosted slightly. And in slot B, I'm using the tone factor AC30, the 2x12 greenbacks, again with that Shure 545 in the third position, enhanced. These IRs are all available at tonefactor.co, and they're really easy to load up. That's not the purpose of this video, though, to show you how to do that, so I'll let you do that. But I'm using these two right here, slot A and slot B. So screenshot that, go download them, buy them if you care, upload them, and you're good to go. All right, so let's dive in now to how I'm using them. We'll listen again. This is clean tone, middle position. That's a C major. Here's a G. Here's the bridge. I did not tune for this video. Here's the a lot of breakup there. Let's go back to the neck now. And back to the middle. All right, there you go. Now, into the settings. So first, what we got to do is go left, and then just to confirm, yeah, we are in fact in, front left. So there you go. Now I'm going to pan this channel center for the rest of this recording, and we're going to listen to just my left cab, which is again the tone factor XRIR Prosonic 2x10, GV10 with the 545 in third position, enhanced. Let's turn that center and mess around a little bit, all right? And there you go. So again, the middle position. Let's go through my settings. So my volume is at there. If you didn't know that, you adjust the settings with and the color changes to purple. But when you find your original settings, it lines back up to red. So my volume is almost noon, in between noon and 1. My gain is, all right, I'd say about 2 o'clock, or no, 1:30. There you go. My room is at, where are you at? There you go. My room is at 9 or 10. Yeah, 10 o'clock. Here you go. My bass is quite high. All right, all the way to 3. I like a lot of low end. My mids are, there you go, at 2 o'clock. And my treble, I think it's very low. There you go. Treble is at noon. Wow, noon on the dot. And that sounds again like this. So, again, that is the Tone Factor Prosonic 2x10 GV10 Shure 545 in third position enhanced IR from Tone Factor. Okay? And I describe that as edge of breakout, right? If I play light, it's pretty clean, but if I dig in, you get some breakup. And that's exactly what you're looking for. Now here's the key. We're going to switch to the right channel, and it's the AC30, same mic, same position. But the AC30 sounds vastly different out the gate. But what I've done is I've tuned the AC30 to try and sound as close to the Fender as possible, so that the left and right are EQ-wise as close as they can be, but in their character different. A mistake that I used to make was have 2 different sounding amps and 2 different sounding EQ turbs left and right. And it almost sounded like there was phase issues or like there was chorus on all the time. You don't want that. You want it to sound as close as possible, so it's one unified sound, and let just the subtle characteristics in the difference of the amps do all of the coloring. So let's switch to the right now. Here we go, and let's confirm. Yeah, we are in front position 2, which is the Tone Factor AC30 2x12 G12M green, again with the Shure 545 in the third position, enhanced. And I'll throw that up on the screen for you guys if I haven't already. Now let's dive into this one's EQ settings. Panning it back center. Here you go. Oh, very different, but we're getting there. So here we go. Volume on the AC30 is at about 2 o'clock. Gain is about 2 o'clock. Room, same thing, about 10 o'clock. All right, here we go. Bass, I think a lot of low end again. Yeah, almost maxed out. Bass is almost done. Mids, 2 o'clock. All right, and that's because the AC30 was extremely bright out of the box. All right, and then the highs, I think I cranked these down. No, I try to keep the highs at noon. I do that because the high knob on the AC30 is very, very sensitive, and so I like to just shape the low and the mid to incorporate the high as opposed to like cutting or boosting the highs, because it gets a little unruly really fast. The tiniest changes change the highs extremely. So now let's listen to that one. let's do a little back to back. So here is the AC30 sound. And now here is the Fender sound. All right, guys. At this point, I don't want you to think I'm insane. I know they sound essentially exactly the same. And that was the goal. I promise you, it is in fact different IRs from different amp cab situations. I've just used the EQ to make them sound as close as possible. If you listen really, really carefully with headphones, I think you'll be able to tell that the Fender has a little more roundness in the mid-range and beefiness in the low end. I had to crank the AC30's low end, as you saw, to make it sound this dark. You don't want the difference to come from the tonality of the amps. You want those to be close, like I've said already. But what ends up happening, and what makes it sound so good, is that the amps break up very differently when overdriven. I don't demonstrate that in this video, but that subtle difference, that strong but subtle difference in breakup patterns between the amps is what gives the stereo image that incredible texture. So again, I want these to sound as close as possible. I promise. There you go. Now let's pan them back left and right. So put the AC30 right, put the Fender left, and turn it down in my ears a little bit. And now on the ACS one, we have the ability to switch this knob back to both, and we can adjust the EQ of the whole mix, right? And I've done a little bit of that. I can't tell you like what I do, but what I like to do is set everything back to middle, and then reset my preset, so I'm back to my good settings. So those are my settings. Kind of as an outro to this video, I'm going to pick some notes instead of just strumming big chords with the left and right channels respectively, just to give you a chance to dial in your settings as close to mine as possible. So here we go. Here is the Fender, down the middle, only the Fender, with a little picking pattern that is quite helpful in my opinion for picking out amp tones. Here is that same thing with the AC30, the right channel. There you go. All right, now, before I let you go, a note on my tonal decisions. Let's pan them back stereo and listen again to just the whole image. Now, I have come to like, as I've matured as a guitar player, darker and darker and darker tones. And that might seem a little strange, right? Because the electric guitar doesn't sit in the low end in a mix. But there's a thing that happens in the psychology of our playing where, because we've heard the high mids and highs of the guitar tone as what cuts, we think that's all that is actually in the guitar sound. And so therefore we tune our amps, or dial in our amps to sound that bright as we hear the cut on the record. And then we go back and listen to our records, and our guitars sound like flimsy, weak, thin garbage. Our overdrive pedals don't respond at all, right? The reverbs aren't saturated at all. And that's because those amazing, bright, punchy tones that you hear cutting through your records have fundamental and low-end frequencies in them. You don't hear that as cutting, but that's the foundation of the tone, right? So when you hear your favorite guitar part, for example, here's We Praise You by Brandon Lake, right? I love this. Let me turn some effects back on just for fun. Right? What will cut through the mix is the bad word, is the clarity and the bite of the top end. But what keeps the tone rooted and sounding punchy is the mids, the true mids, and the low end. So I found myself tuning within reason. Let me turn my overdrives down again. Dialing in my amps. I saw a delay on. I was like, what is that? Much darker than I used to expect. And obviously the sound guy is probably going to dump everything below 100, maybe even higher. You never know what your sound guy is doing. But those frequencies will be there. Those low mids will be there, giving your tone that punch, giving your tone that fullness, and saturating your wet effects really, really nicely. A good way to know if you've dialed something in too thin is to play a chord, right? And just make sure that the isn't too much lower, right? Lower in volume. And when you strum the full chord, you should be able to hear those high frequencies clearly cutting through, but make sure those lows are ringing out too. So that's why I like to do this exercise that I stole from David Hislop, right? Because it plays the mids through the highs. You get to hear a full, nice image of your guitar's signal. And if you haven't tuned it right, it'll sound like this, right? It'll sound like... Right, I was exaggerating by playing the lows quietly. But you want those to cut, so to speak, or punch just as much. You want to make sure that the root notes of those chords punch just as much as the high end rings. All right, guys, just finished up the edit, and yeah, it was fun. Hope you found this video helpful. Let me know if you want me to make / I'm just gonna do it. No one watches these videos, but I'm gonna do it. A deep dive on exactly like how I originally dialed in those settings, and just like a general overall like my thoughts on tone video. Looking forward to showing it to you. Bye-bye.